Hello, my name is Kari Elvin. I'm coming to you today to present an article review on TikTok for Health, the power of short form videos to educate young women on sexual health. This article was written by Anna Sposkarniak and published in Healthcare Strategy Review in 2024. Before we begin, I do want to provide a little disclaimer in that I am currently working through a speech impediment caused by my braces. It does require me to slow down some words or repeat them sometimes, as well as a few phrases. But please bear with me. I'm doing my best to ensure that you are able to understand me. And if at any point you are struggling to hear what I say or want more information, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be glad to answer any of your questions. Thank you. So let's begin with the research problem. How can TikTok be used effectively to promote health literacy while navigating risks of misinformation? But how did we get here? How did we get to relying on TikTok for health information? And that is because there is a lack of sexual and reproductive health education among young women in the United States. I can attest that even growing up in high school, where you kind of expect to have that type of class to prepare you, I was not offered that outside of the regular biology, knowing the reproductive system. Now, that information can also be given to you through family members, parents, mentors. Sometimes will give you that information to prepare you for what you may experience in the real world. However, not everybody has that. So when it's lacking at home, when it's lacking in school, it makes sense to turn to another source where that can be provided. And that is the digital age, technology, or TikTok, one of the major social media platforms that is rising recently within the last few years. Most adolescents trust social media. They turn to have their questions answered no matter how trivial or no matter how in-depth they may be. Now the problem becomes, how can we leverage this social media platform to effectively promote health literacy while navigating the expected risks of misinformation? So, what is the research objective? Develop targeted recommendations for public health campaigns that aim to provide knowledge and engage young women on TikTok using existing literature. Amongst this, patterns will also be identified in the most successful health-based TikTok videos to provide evidence-based content creation strategies. So, moving on to methodology, I want to emphasize that this study does not use empirical research, which is usually collecting knowledge using direct observations or experience, right? They're not using surveys to a control group. They're not using experimental groups, anything like that. They are using literature to identify strategic practices using TikTok as a health communication tool and to form an understanding of how young women engage with their topics on the app. First, I want to go to Fowler, and that used a content analysis of the top 100 TikTok videos using health-related hashtags that focus on themes, creator types, and viewer engagement. Next is O'Donnell, which provided an analysis of sexual health misinformation trends on TikTok, identified common inaccuracies, and assessed the effectiveness of content moderation. Lastly is Kirkpatrick and Lowry. A national survey of young women ages 14 to 24 was done, and it investigated their use of TikTok for sexual health information. And this article uses these studies to outline patterns in high engagement content, information gaps in formal education, and the type of creatives that are trusted amongst the young women. Findings and results. So, the review found that TikTok is widely used by young women to obtain sexual health information, and it often fills gaps left by formal education. So, starting with engagement, 92.4% of users in one study encountered health information on TikTok unintentionally, and 65.5% did so intentionally. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before, as many of us can attest, TikTok is quite the app, and you can find yourself get lost in the scrolling, going to different videos, and as they refer to, ending up on different sides of TikTok. And I have found myself on the health side of TikTok, going through dentist cleanings, root canals, ENT doctors saying what are the best remedies for sore throats, emergency room doctors pointing out when you should go to the emergency room or when you should go to urgent care, things of that nature. Quite informative, but you end up on different sides of TikTok unintentionally, but also it is so easy to search on TikTok to find what you are looking for specifically, which is how you get there intentionally. Moving on to trusted sources, content from self-identified health professionals is frequently trusted and acted upon. However, I do propose the question, how do you know that self-identified health professionals are actually health professionals who have studied and perfected their craft versus someone who identifies as a health professional but does not have the credentials to back it up? Moving forward, popular health themes. High engagement content often includes role models, personal testimonies, and misinformation debunking. Especially the last point, misinformation debunking, that was found in O'Donnell's study, that it was quite a popular topic for videos to go through misinformation and provide the correct information and show what was false, what's not, and things of that nature. And lastly, content gaps. Topics such as female anatomy and contraception are widely searched but underrepresented in school curriculum. And this, I feel, has been such a recent phenomenon on what is appropriate to be taught in schools. And it had it causes this gap where young adolescents aren't getting the information they need to make real life choices, which is part of going to school. Not everything is taught at home. Some of this does need to be taught at school, especially as it results to health and making healthy decisions. Now, to follow up on the findings and results page, the article did provide two recommendations. The first was to target known educational gaps among young women, and the second is to design content aligned with proven engagement structures on TikTok. And that can be done by using diverse spokesperson or having clear calls to action. My assessment of the article's quality begins with it being well structured and timely. Now, when I use the word timely, I am referring to the fact that we are in a digital age where most people have access to smartphones and use social media to communicate with each other. So I believe it is very important that we use the resources that are available to work for the public health community, which involves using social media like TikTok to promote health messages. Moving forward, I also think the article is quite strong despite the lack of original empirical research, and essentially the strength lies in its integration of data from peer-reviewed studies that we have discussed before and using reputable health communication sources. Lastly, I think it was just a generally useful guide for exploring TikTok in the future and should get the ball rolling on how it can be incorporated into other health communication, health studies, and reaching wider audiences. So, thank you for coming with me on this journey as I completed my article review. We have reached the end, and I hope that I was able to pique your interest in finding out more on TikTok and other social media platforms, being a candidate to promote health communication, health literacy, and close the gap between health education provided in schools and the knowledge that adolescents are walking away with. If you're interested, I did provide a link on the PowerPoint here where you can get the full article and have a more in-depth view of the information I provided on the slide. If you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to go over or discuss with me, please feel free to reach out. Hopefully everything was easy to understand. And thank you for bearing with me.